everyone. Welcome back to Casual Day. We're responding to comments. We're back here in my favorite spot in the whole world, engineering. There's no place I'd rather be. I'd rather be here than on the bridge and all stressed out. We're down here. We can hear the heartbeat of the ship, the thrum. It's wonderful. Without further ado, let's take a dive down into the comment world and see what y'all have been saying since the last time I responded to comments. Please ignore Power Cage there. You can see a comment of him sneaking in underneath the comment in question. It's his comment is from the last responding to comments video, so we're gonna ignore that, okay, buddy? Screw You Reviews, interesting name. This comment is on Star Trek Prodigy Season 1, Episode 5. The U.S.S. Protostar Real has a Protostar engine, so that how the Protostar ended up in the Delta Quadrant. But how did Starfleet came up with the technology for a Protostar engine? To answer the last bit of that comment, Starfleet is always developing new technologies. Warp, standard like Cochrane style warp will not be forever. And with incidents like Voyager being lost, there is many instances of Starfleet trying to develop new propulsion technologies with which to get Voyager back. So the U.S.S. Protostar is just a furtherance of Starfleet's propulsion concepts. Pretty sure Prodigy takes place after Voyager returns, so maybe it's reverse engineered from data Voyager collected off screen in Voyager, maybe? Yes, it does have a real Protostar on board. Protostar being a baby star. How poetic. Thank you, Screw You Reviews. Michelle Josf. This episode is called Terra Firma, not Terra Firma. I made a mistake in that review. I had accidentally referred to the episode in the review as Terra Firma. It's not, it's Terra Firma, which is kind of a cute name. So thank you. Michelle Josf again. Dal and Gwyn are both 17, and Jankum is 16. Rocktack is 8, and Zero, Janeway, Murph are ageless. Thank you. If that's the canonical ages that I'm supposed to interpret these characters as, thanks a lot, Michelle, Joss. Very young characters in Prodigy, eh? Almost children. Power Cage, you've been here for a long time. Don't think I forgot you. You're one of the ride or die people, it seems. Getting really snazzy with those opening animations, buddy. Thanks a lot. But these animations, like I pointed out before, they're made basically on the spot. Like, I try. Sometimes, if they look good, it's because I'm using assets I had already made in the past. But a lot of times, those little intro animation skits, I have to make them at very short notice. Power Cage again. Why is their computer named after a race from Legend of Zelda? Well, see, Zora, in the context of Star Trek Discovery, the word means sunrise or something. I don't know. I guess Zora is just an okay name. Zora. Is that how they write it in Discovery? As for being a relation to a fictional race of characters from the Legend of Zelda video game series, I don't think there's any connection. I don't think people are putting those two together in any way. This is for Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 6. Yeah, Zora is just the name of the computer. Maybe they should have called it Dora. 20, okay, yeah. Power Cage again here. Sounds like a ripoff of a Doctor Who episode. He's saying at 20 minutes 55 seconds. According to Power Cage, Burnham putting on a spacesuit to withstand going through the heated plasma field of the DMA, and to withstand while everyone else is transported off, she stays on to try to like weather the storm, so to speak. Apparently that's like a ripoff of Doctor Who, I guess. I've never seen Doctor Who really. I know it's another famed sci-fi franchise. It's very old. That could very well be something that you would see in Doctor Who. Feel free to comment down below on this video with more details on exactly how that relates to Doctor Who. But thanks a lot, Power Cage, for being attentive and making constructive comments. Matthew James on Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 7. I thank you for doing the hard work, Lieutenant. I gave up a Season 3 Episode 4. Your reviews are always entertaining. Thanks a lot for saying that my reviews are entertaining. Definitely takes a lot of bravery to keep going with Discovery, but I kind of was managing to do it. And might I say that I'm very glad that Discovery and Picard are over for now. It's like taking a breath of fresh air. Not to spoil my review for the first episode of Strange New Worlds, but it feels like I'm breathing fresh air again. I can finally breathe. I'm not breathing in the thick, stinky, smelly miasma of Picard and Discovery, and I'm smelling the roses of Strange New Worlds, Prodigy on the Horizon, Lower Decks. All better than Discovery and Picard, I'll say that. So thank you, Matthew James, for your compliments. Michael Papp on Star Trek Prodigy Season 1, Episode 9. The moral star in the title is a metaphor. A guiding star is the star that, well, points you in the right direction. The moral star is a guide for morality. These kids were using the Federation and Starfleet as their moral star in this episode. I imagine in Part 2, we'll see the metaphorical star shining the diviner's way. As for if a replicator turned evil, well, in an LDS, one broke and would only spit out hot bananas. That's pretty hurtful. Yeah. In DS9, a replicator replicated a Cardassian booby trap, that's right, that shot at people after a Cardassian anti-riot uprising program was accidentally instigated. Fantastic. That's the main incident of a replicator used for nefarious purposes I can think of. Actually, there's one more. An LDS replicator would only replicate dry black licorice. Evil. I like black licorice. Perhaps I'm in the minority. Thanks a lot for insightful comments from Michael Papp, and setting me straight on what a moral star means. Also, it should be noted that since this, I've discovered that a moral star is an anagram of Tars Lamora, which is the name of the slave colony that they came from. So it's actually a pretty good name for an episode, looking back. And these are the instances of replicators being used for nefarious purposes. Still, I like Dreadnought coming out of a replicator. That's an interesting idea to me. That was for Star Trek Prodigy, Season 1, Episode 9. Again, from Michael Papp, responding to Star Trek Prodigy, Episode 9, Season 1. Okay, so I really like all of New Trek, though I hate they fridged Ichib, yeah. I don't mind drug abuse in Trek. Showing flawed humans aspiring to be better is always a good time for me. That's good. When done right. Having two main characters in Picard with substance abuse issues felt like overkill, admittedly. I agree. I would have been more impressed if the La Serena captain had hollow addiction and Picard had to keep fighting him for use. That would have been cool. That would have actually, it's like, that's clever. Like, it's so easy to just write drug addiction. Well, why don't you come up with a future addiction, right? Like, do it like Barclay in TNG. He was kind of like, he was using the holodeck in a less than savory way, we'll say, and Captain Rios could have been addicted to holos. Like, that would have been kind of interesting. Something like that. I digress. I'm a TNG OG. Okay. Watched the show since Encounter at Farpoint aired. Yeah. Was afraid of Spock because he had pointy ears and green blood. I was terrified of BSG Centaurians too. My point is, I've been watching Trek for 35 plus years. My favorite Trek is DS9. Captain Picard was my 90s TV dad. I love DS9 a lot too. I also like New Trek. I established this to assure you, your opinion is likely closer to the truth. Prodigy is really that good. I like Prodigy. It's not looking better relative to A Sea of Turds. It's just a really good show on its own. Okay, yeah. And a really good Trek show too. I kind of agree. I've on my own time watched the first season of Prodigy again. Just for fun. And just to see the way it looked on a cool big TV screen. It's a cool looking show. It's bright. It doesn't feel evil. It's good. I enjoy Prodigy. I feel like these shows and the style of storytelling should have been what Trek 09 was like. Yes. The flavor of Trek was there 09. Yeah, exactly. The flavor of Star Trek was there in Star Trek 2009. The substance wasn't. That's accurate. Not like in Prodigy. Sure, there were token efforts of Trek in Kelvinverse. The social aspects, I feel, are well represented. Not much else. Yeah, I think so. The modern flash and pomp of the Kelvin universe has been, I feel, finally combined with good old-fashioned Trek sentiment successfully. You're on the ball with that. Kelvin Trek, it's so slick. It's so well edited. It's so flashy, but it's just a flash in the pan. Look at the first 3 Star Trek Kelvin movies. First one came out, it was a big hit. They mistakenly believed it was a big hit because of the substance of the movie. It wasn't. The substance of it was not that great. It did well because people were intrigued by the idea of Star Trek coming back to the big screen with fresh talent. People were intrigued. The word is intrigued. So they all went to see it, and it did good. And then they did the same thing more or less again, but a lot worse in my opinion, with Into Darkness. And it did worse. And then the next movie after that did worse or still. It's because it didn't have anything to build upon. It did not create a lasting foundation. It was just a flash in the pan. A very beautiful, bright, slick flash in the pan. And I don't hate Star Trek Beyond, but I understand that things die for a reason. Yep. 09 was too modern. The modern flash and pomp of Kelvin universe has been, I feel, combined. Yes. Enterprise couldn't modernize fast enough, though it did get there before the end. Exactly. They just wasted almost 3 seasons. Like, when Enterprise came out, it was too hard to justify a show that took 3 seasons to get good. There was too much competition in the sci-fi space in the mid going into the mid 2000s. Star Trek Enterprise had to hit the ball into the goal perfectly on their first shot. Okay, and they just couldn't do it. They had 3 seasons to get it right, and then the 4th season they finally figured out how to make the Enterprise show work. And I love season 4, but it was just too late. They couldn't keep throwing money at it, and they just had to stop. They needed. I mean, I looked into the behind the scenes stuff with Enterprise. There was a lot of meddling from the network at the time, which I believe was UPN, and a lot of executive meddling, a lot of notes coming down onto the desk of people working on the show saying, you can't do this, you can't do that. It really hampered the show, and from what they were saying from Rick Berman and the like, they wanted a show that was a lot more unique and a lot more fresh, a lot more alien, and they just couldn't do it. And it took 3 seasons of wheel spinning and fighting until they finally got to the meat of what people wanted to explore with earlier Trek in season 4. I mean, you had the prospect of the Romulan War coming up. You know, had to stretch canon a little bit there. You had a good explanation that I accepted for the Klingon Ridge issue. The prospect of Shran joining the crew, that would have been amazing. You could imagine seeing a lot more Shran. I love him. And they just couldn't do it. They just stumbled out of the gate, and they did it in a time where they were surrounded by competition. At that time, you couldn't afford to stumble out of the gate like they kind of did with TNG. You know, you just couldn't afford it. You could do it in the 80s. You couldn't do it in the 2000s. I'm sorry. Lower Decks is my favorite new Trek show. I feel like that is a great and good mix of modern comedy and classic Trek values. It is. 09 was too modern, same I think for most new Trek, though the hypothetical Trek to Flash ratio was far better for my taste. Yes, still it wasn't quite there. That said, trying it out, looks like it may be the top spot for me. I do understand many of the subjective artistic complaints with the new Trek, as do I. There isn't as much Trek in it to balance out the modern in many cases. That issue is being addressed, it looks like. Discovery grows more Trek by the season. It does. It technically is growing towards... I like season 4 better than Picard. I'm cautiously optimistic about Picard season 2. Sorry. My guess is Q shows up to make sure this new Golem Picard is the real deal. That would be cool, but that's not what happened. To make sure his favorite human isn't actually dead. I wish. LDS seems as though it's beginning to rely less on comedy and entertain us. Smart. The balance between humor and Trek is evening out. I hope Strange New Worlds ends up being what's promised. I hate those V-neck uniforms. I do too. If that's the worst complaint I have, though, okay, great. This is a fantastic comment. Very well written. A lot of good points. Points that dig down into the deeper potential issues with Trek as a whole. Not just modern. He's being fair. He's slathering on critique with a broad brush. Everybody's getting it. We're not playing a lot of favorites here. I really like this comment. Yeah, Discovery is getting better by the season. I still don't like it, but it's getting better. The only debate in my mind that I have is which is better, season 1 or season 2. I'm actually starting to think that season 1 of Discovery is better than season 2, but I have my reasons. But season 3 is better than both of them, and then season 4 is better than 3 still. What's plaguing Discovery for me right now is that it does not feel convincingly like it's in the year 3000. 3000 plus. I think it's like 3100 something. It doesn't feel alien or different enough. It feels some of the things look like a step backwards. And some of the technology doesn't look advanced enough, and the show it's looking a little bit cheap to me. I mean, the expense to create an episode, that's not everything, right? An episode doesn't have to look like $1 million every time. But I think Discovery needs a refresh. I think season 5 they should refit the bridge. They should overhaul a lot of stuff. There's so much baggage from the early seasons that's just dragging it down. We need to just completely refit everything with new Starfleet technology. We need to dig down into how the new technology works. We need to explore corridors of other ships. We need to see the other ships up close. It's just looking a little bit like, physically it looks like the old Discovery with a new coat of paint. We need to actually scrape the surface and get down in there and reform Discovery to feel like a show from 3100 plus. Still, season 4 better than Picard season 1 and 2. I hope Strange New Worlds ends up being what's promised. So do I. I don't like the V-neck uniforms either. I think the V-necks in Strange New Worlds, having seen the first episode, the V-necks, they're so high up, and they block too much of the black. You need a balance. You need to have a certain amount of black around the neck to balance out the division color. And I'm saying that as I know that this is a re-envisioning of the TOS look, so you have something to base it on. If you were designing uniforms from scratch for a totally new thing, this would be fine, but we're not. We're kind of trying to make TOS stuff. So the uniforms, we need to see more black around the neck and change the shape of the V-neck so it's like wider. Listen, it's like, the thing is, look at the Discovery uniform season 1. They look completely wrong. Season 2, they show us the Enterprise uniforms. They're just the Discovery uniforms repainted. Strange New Worlds, the uniforms are even closer still, again, to TOS. Are we not just admitting that TOS had it right? Is that not what we're implicitly admitting? If at every instance we go back on our design choices to make it more like how it should look, were we not wrong originally? We need to ask ourselves that. The creators need to ask themselves that. I think TOS with the uniforms kind of just had it right. I'm not into the whole paneling design, like the structured shoulders. Hard for me to say that for some reason. I kept on wanting to say soldier. The structured shoulders and padding, it just looks like stuffy, and it's just not fun. Just have a sweater. Like, I mean, they had basically unstructured sweaters in TOS that just kind of loosely fit. Loosey-goosey, as Gene Roddenberry would say. I think that's deceptively futuristic. We'll leave it at that. So thank you so much, Michael Papp, for your comment regarding Star Trek Prodigy Season 1, Episode 9. Michael Papp again in Star Trek Lower Decks Season 2, Episode 9. The Klingon violence all has been previously depicted in either DS9 or TOS, correct? I'm glad you gave them a pass here, too. Yep. My favorite bit of the episode, besides the storytelling conceit itself, was that Vulcan dialogue. I loved it. Yeah. Plus, the captain realized his officer would be better suited on a Federation ship, where her wild outbursts would be allowed to live long and prosper, so to speak. So he sent her there. Her gratuitous outburst as she left was further evidence his logic was sound. Good comment. It speaks for itself, this comment. Yeah, I try very hard to think back of what was done before and try not to nitpick it too hard in the future. Although it bears repeating, I always say that because it was done before doesn't make it right. But when you take something like the violence with the Klingons, that's not uncommon. There's certain ways to do it. If I said that, this ship in Lower Decks, one of the nacelles is backwards, and you would say, well, wait, why is the nacelle backwards? And I'd be like, well, why are you complaining about that? There was this one episode of TOS where the nacelle was on backwards. You're just being a nitpicker, and you're just playing favorites. And then you would logically say, well, yeah, but it doesn't make sense that the nacelle was on backwards. And I know that people make mistakes. They made mistakes in TOS. That's not licensed to do it again. Things have to get better, right? So it's a tightrope walk. Context is for kings, and I don't want to paint everything with I don't want to hit everything with a blunt club. I want to be able to look at things for how I feel and what they seem to be on the surface and what they were trying to do. If the heart is there, I'll be happy. But if we're just cynically pulling things out of the past just to say, remember this, and you get it wrong, I'll be very angry. But yeah, I try not to I try not to complain too much about stuff that happened before, but on the flip side, I also know that having stuff happen before does not make it acceptable now. If you think about it, if you did it the other way, nothing would ever get better. You know, I cleaned the floor wrong yesterday, and now my boss is mad at me today. He told me I cleaned the floor wrong. He didn't complain last time I cleaned the floor wrong. Ah, you see, but you remembered that you cleaned the floor wrong when you did it wrong. So why did you do it wrong in the beginning? I guess I made a mistake. That doesn't give you the right to make the mistake again. Thanks a lot, Michael Papp. I like that episode a lot too. It's a great episode. The insight into the dialogue between Vulcans on their own ship. It's so fun. It's just a fun episode. It's just fun. Try not to look a gift horse in the mouth too much with Lower Decks. Michael Papp again for Star Trek Lower Decks Season 2 Episode 10. It took a few episodes for Boimler to return to the Cerritos. I don't necessarily like the reason why he came back, though. That was crap. Why would there being 2 Boimlers mean one gets demoted? Weirdly enough, I'm madder at that than the rehash of Second Chances. Conspiracy was a great episode, I agree. I like it too. Lots of fun. Good suspense and tension building. Deeply horrifying to a 9-year-old. But in a thrilling way, yes. I don't know. I like early TNG. I like Black Licorice. I like early TNG. I'm crazy. There's nothing wrong with the episode Conspiracy. I want it to come back. Why are we... I mean, last episode of Picard, they're bringing back the Traveler. Bring back the frigging bugs living inside people's bodies and controlling them. What the hell? Yeah, I'm not necessarily happy that there had to be 2 Boimlers in order to get one back on the Cerritos. I have no idea. I mean, we had 2 Rikers, now we have 2 Boimlers. Honestly, it would have been more funny if he just got regular demoted for doing something bad and got busted back down to the Cerritos. It's pathetic and stupid and not becoming a Boimler. But it's a little bit less strange than having 2 Boimlers, because if you have 2, how do you pick who to demote? Like it's kind of strange. I'm thinking maybe it was a mistake to put him on the Titan. Maybe that was an accident. Maybe they thought when they wrote that in, they were thinking they would only get 1 season, and then they got a 2nd season, and they didn't have time to rewrite it. Rewriting things is complicated. Rewriting a script or an outline for a season that you already have done, that's like playing Jenga. Think of it like that. Thank you a lot, Michael Papp. Screw You Reviews is back for Star Trek Prodigy Season 1 Episode 10. The series is okay, but it was way too soon to take down the villain. I agree, it was too soon to take down the Diviner, but I also proposed the idea that maybe Dreadnought was the true villain, right? Because Dreadnought is like, he could like be downloaded into another body. Like, what if the true villain, what if we didn't see him yet, or what if it's actually Dreadnought? The ending that we have so far for this part of the first season of Star Trek Prodigy is very open-ended. Matthew James for Star Trek Discovery Season 4 Episode 8. I greatly appreciate your honesty in reviewing Kurtzman Trek. Watching just 1 episode of Discovery is true pain to a classic Star Trek fan like myself. Yeah. I suppose it depends on who you ask, but Star Trek Discovery Season 4 definitely improved a lot by removing itself from too much established canon. Fascinatingly, Star Trek Discovery moved to the 31st or 32nd century, thus becoming the show people wanted before Discovery came out. I just wanted to show beyond Nemesis. I wasn't asking for much. I just wanted to get out and away from canon. When TNG came out, it intentionally distanced itself from TOS, so that they could do what they want and tell their own unique stories. You have to get yourself some leeway. Honor what came before, yes. Respect it, understand it. It's part of the same universe. But a series needs room to breathe, you know? What it's admitting defeat to send the Discovery into the future where it should have been all along. You're just admitting your original idea was bad. Just being honest, okay? And I appreciate that you appreciate my honesty. Watching Discovery is pain to a classic Star Trek fan. Yeah, it's kind of like watching just a lot of old bad episodes jumbled together. You're just kind of getting the bad, you're not getting the good. 4 seasons of Discovery, there's maybe like 3 or 4 episodes that I would even consider watching again, maybe. It's not a very good ratio, but it's not the unending torment of Picard, so again, if you like this stuff, that's fantastic. I want to like it too. So thank you, Matthew James. Power Cage is back for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 1. Can they redeem themselves after ruining the actual character of Picard, even if this new season is decent? Well, they were. Episode 1 of Season 2 was the Season 1 apology tour. Picard spent an entirety of Season 1 on the Starfleet apology tour for everybody. And then I think they realized that they were wrong with how they handled Season 1. I think the creators were like, uh-oh. And they actually kind of tried with Episode 1 for Season 2. But it was just a bait and switch. It just went right back to the nonsense of Season 1. After like 4 episodes in, it just went straight back to insanity. So no, they cannot redeem themselves after ruining Picard from Season 1. I'm so sorry that this had to happen. Again, I love you if you love it still. So just think about it like that. I'm not into the idea of just treading over already trodden ground anymore. I would have been very excited by the prospect of this new series 10 years ago. Now I'm not. I kind of don't want people to come back. Maybe they were right in the TNG days. Look at some of the behind the scenes stuff for TNG. They had to fight to get even Spock mentioned in an episode. They were so determined not to go back on anything. They were determined to move forward with TNG. It didn't always work perfectly, but the sentiment was there. And you have to be willing to let old things become old. And, you have to do new things. I mean, as someone who doesn't like modern Trek that much, I will be called somebody who doesn't want things to change. That could not be further from the truth. My favorite new Trek series, like Lower Decks and Prodigy, are the most different from old Trek. Visually, mechanically different, but the core is there. That's what was important all along. They knew it with TNG, they knew it with Deep Space Nine, they understood it with Voyager, and so forth. You can look different, feel different, be different, different characters, different ships, different part of the universe. But the reality of it is, we need the core of Star Trek to be there. It's not hard. And I will be chastised as someone who wants things to change this to stay the same. And yet, they have created Star Trek Picard, where they brought back old characters. They're bringing more old characters back for Season 3. Discovery Season 1 took place like 10 years before TOS for no reason. Season 2, they brought back Spike. They brought back Spock. What am I saying? Spock and Pike. I guess I confused. I merged the names. They brought back the Enterprise. Oh. So which one of us wants things to change to stay the same? Not me. Thanks a lot, Matthew James. Power Cage. Thanks a lot, Power Cage and Matthew James. I got your names confused. I got Spock and Pike's names confused. I'm all confused today. Matthew James for Star Trek Season 2, Episode 1 review. I don't think these writers know much about TNG except what they saw in First Contact through Nemesis, as the writing team never spoke of the events from Generations. Robert, Renee, and the Vin. Yeah, I know. Generations is this lost Trek film now. It seems to be the one that's glossed over the most. Maybe that's a good thing, but it still happened. The vineyard was destroyed. His family, his whole family essentially was gonzo in Star Trek Generations. Looking through that photo album that he had, reminiscing, I wonder what kind of frightening things I will see if I look really close at that photo album. Things that shouldn't be possible, knowing what we know now about Picard Season 2. Wink, wink. Yeah, I don't think these writers actually, watch a lot of Star Trek. I mean, and the funny thing is, here's the truth. People aren't going to like this. You don't have to watch a lot of Trek to make a good episode or a good Trek movie. You don't. You just have to know how to make a good story. The story is good, it's good. Surround yourself by people who know better. Have humility. Just admit that you don't know. Surround yourself with people who can inform you about the canon. These writers, at least don't pretend that you like Star Trek. Just say I don't like it. Just say I don't like it or I never watched it. People have directed Star Trek content before and written it without really knowing that much about it, and it was fine. Just have the humility to accept criticism and accept when you're wrong and accept the views of people who understand the canon. But most importantly, keep in your mind that the story must be good. Always keep in mind the core tenets of a good story. Okay? I will say that I've noticed that a lot of these writers for these modern Star Trek episodes and whatnot don't have a lot of writing credits. It's sad that people without a lot of credits can't get their foot in the door. I think it sucks that they didn't have a lot of opportunities, but I don't know if Star Trek is the place for it. Star Trek is a top shelf item. We need to get back into that mindset. This is not junky crap that comes on at 2 p.m. On CW channel. That's not what Star Trek is. Get out of that mindset. We need top tier talent, okay? As for these people without a lot of credits, try writing for, I don't know, comics, maybe. Try writing Star Trek comics. Try writing quests for Star Trek Online. Get on those. Cut your teeth on the small stuff. These shows are complicated. Picard Season 2 is a time travel plot. That's complicated. You're going in deep with that. Just saying. Thanks a lot, Matthew James. Matthew James again for Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 13. Star Trek the Motion Picture is the truest of Star Trek ideology on film. A masterpiece of its time and still today. I watch it every few days. It's crazy. I cannot believe this movie. It's my favorite Star Trek movie. It's one of my favorite movies ever. It's so on the ball with everything. It doesn't waste any time on anything. Isn't that amazing? I'm saying that about Star Trek, the motionless picture. It doesn't waste your time with dialogue that doesn't do anything. The dialogue is straight and to the point, makes sense, and the themes are expressed visually and through the music and through how characters interact with each other. The themes are discovered in the motion picture, not announced. You see, themes, emotions, metaphors, they're like perfume. Have you ever had someone tell you that perfume, if it's good perfume, should be discovered, not announced? Think about what that means. Thanks a lot, Matthew James. J-Rod, for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 5 review. This is just an observation, but you sound like you are Canadian. Well, I'm from Earth. Look up where the actor who portrayed Ruwan Tarka in Star Trek Discovery Season 4 is from. It's relevant, I'll say that. Matthew James again. Boy, you're on fire. Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 4 review. Guinan's Conundrum. I like that name. If the writers of STP, Star Trek Picard, had any talent, STP would be a dream in Data's positronic brain, taking place during Star Trek Nemesis, as Data activated his phaser at the Collector, saving the TNG crew and accepting his faith of the time is finite, faith of the heart is finite. Oh no, I just gave the writers of STP an interesting, crazy idea. How are they going to use it? Well, I don't know, maybe you should be collecting royalties or something, because that's so crazy it's going to be in Season 3. I wish this was a dream, to use the common cop-out that maybe it's all a dream. You know, the last gasp of coping mechanism for people who want to like a terrible show. Don't worry, guys. It's a dream. Yeah, if only. I didn't want any of that U.S.S. Picard stuff to be real. It's just not. It's contrived. The word is contrived. Yeah, so thanks a lot, Matthew James, again. Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 6 review. Undertaker 45. You forgot B4. Yeah, this is when I mentioned that Brent Spiner played a million different characters, and they all look the same. And I forgot B4. Remember that android that they have to like build like a Lego man, and I think Nemesis, because they needed mystery and intrigue, so they had to go around and find this body. Yeah, the crap was slipping in even in the TNG movies. It was there. Go back and watch them. It's not perfect. I said lol, and then he replied to me, sorry to bug you, but I was just thinking with your limited knowledge of Trek, you could actually write for the series. Yeah, because you forgot? Didn't mention. Bad joke, I know. Yeah. Bad joke, I know. Yeah, see, that's what they should do. Just get me to write it, and just if I forget something, just leave it in. Who cares? Yeah, I would have to take a lesson in lack of humility to be able to look at it, think I wrote it perfect, get it to screen, and not ask anyone to look over it once. Not even one time. Guess what? I just finished Picard Season 2. And Jean-Luc looks at a key that he needs to find in the future for reasons. He puts it somewhere where he can find it in the future. So we know we're changing the vineyard for the future. And yet, an episode ago, we beamed Borg soldiers into the walls of the vineyard. What if Picard finds them at some point in the next 300 and some odd years? And oh no, there's just Borg in the wall. Like what is he gonna think? Like, there's Borg nanites in those bodies. They don't go away. Like, it's psychotic. What? There's Borg at the vineyard in 2024, and they're going to stay there. So it wasn't good enough to have the Borg go back to 2063 and leave behind artifacts, we'll say, to be found in in a later time in an episode I'm not going to spoil. But we had to go back and put them there in 2024 and embed them into the wall of the Picard vineyard. You know, someone critical to the future, like Picard, right? Could you not have beamed them into the hull of the La Sirena inside the metal? Like, come on. Yeah, definitely went off the rails last few episodes of Picard. Sorry to say. Yeah, I did, and I did make a mistake forgetting B4. I wish I never forgot B4. You know, the amazing B4 for the amazing film Star Trek Nemesis. What a tour de force that movie is. I mean, sorry if you like it. I'll watch it now and then. Sometimes it's in the rotation, but it's far down in the rotation. It doesn't come up often. J-Rod again for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 6. 2 of 1 is what I believe would be the hypothetical designation for the pairing of Girardi and the Borg Queen, since the two individuals are inhabiting one body. That's a good point. That's probably what they meant by the title 2 of 1, to be honest. Hindsight's 2020. Like, a lot of these things, I'm reviewing them in a state of duress because I just had to handle watching it, and I'm still mentally shook up a little bit. And sometimes sleeping on it once isn't enough. So coming back with a sober second opinion, that title makes sense. So thanks a lot, J-Rod. For Star Trek Season 2, Episode 6, Sandra Engels. I think it is depth psychological from Sigmund Freud. I think maybe, do you mean like, I think it's a deep psychology from the school of Sigmund Freud, maybe. With regards to going into like Picard's mind and whatnot. I don't know anything about Sigmund Freud. I'm not a psychologist. So take from that what you will. According to Sandra Engels, there is some Freudian angle to Picard Season 2 in some way. I'll just accept it on face value. So thanks a lot, Sandra Engels. Sandra Engels is back with Star Trek Picard Season 2 Episode 6 review. And the comment is simply, since the beginning of this season, that must be a follow-up to the other comment. So she thinks it's deep psychological stuff from Sigmund Freud since the beginning of the season. So I guess if you're a psychologist or you're interested in psychology, maybe there's something you can get out of the entire season of Picard Season 2. You know, maybe there's something there. Thanks a lot, Sandra Engels. Star Trek Season 2, Episode 5. From Salty Beard 79 Reed. There's a name for you. Q didn't lose his posers. He said, okay, you must mean powers. He said, I have learned that I have limitations in which I need your help. To Dr. Soong, this whole season is going now, where tried to prevent changes in time by changing time like the bus, the cop in France, so many things, and they didn't pick up Rio's comm badge either. It's like children pitching thing to monkey on a typewriter. Yeah, well, sometimes 1,000 monkeys typing on 1,000 typewriters does produce something cool. In this case, it didn't. So he's suggesting that Q didn't lose his powers, but he's learned he's had limitations and needed Dr. Singh to help him. Well, he tried to vaporize Guinan and couldn't do it. If he is to be believed on face value, maybe he's lying. This whole season now, from this point on, it basically is just trying to stop butterflies. You know that thing where a butterfly flaps its wings and it causes some disaster to happen? Basically, it's a comment on how small actions in the now can have big ramifications in the future, which is why you generally don't time travel. Time by changing time, like the bus, the cop in France, so many things, and they didn't pick up Rios' comm badge either. At the last episode of Picard, they tried to quickly shove in a line where he said, "All right, there should be all the butterflies," and he's got like comm badges and a gun and a badge or something, and he's just holding them out. Like Rios went around and found all the butterflies, like not really understanding how this works. Like just the fact that they were there is a butterfly effect, but now he's trying to clean them up, and it's like, buddy, like it's too late. Like there is no way in hell that people didn't see the La Serena warp away. It didn't have its cloak on. I could see it. It just warped away. I hope the Vulcans didn't see that. Yeah. So, thanks a lot, Salty Beard 79. Reed doesn't sound like a fan of this season. I'm not really a fan of it either. And Salty Beard 79 Reed is coming back for another comment on Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 5. Also, in First Contact, Captain Picard emptied a mag from a Tommy gun, and he still thought that was enough, so he was going with, but the gun, because Borg have armor, but the STP's writers don't watch or read. Yeah, listen, Borg guys are tough, but they had to stupidly write Season 2 of Picard so that you could have Borg people that you could beat by artificially weakening the assimilation technology of the Queen so that she can't really turn people fully into Borg. She can only kind of make them Borgified a little bit. Like, at least give them a rotating shield frequency so your phasers don't work. But no, we just, for all intents and purposes, the Borg that we battle in Star Trek Picard Season 2 are just human soldiers. They don't really do much different. They're just mind-controlled people. And they call them Borg, and they want to kill them because they're Borg, and they're not Borg. I'm sorry. So yeah, thanks a lot. And your point is accurate about Captain Picard shooting, just unloading magazines into these guys. They are tough. They breathe in space. They're tough as nails. That's how the Borg were. Now that's not how they are. So you've really ruined a big thing there. Thanks a lot, Salty Beard. Salty Beard's back again for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 6 this time. They kind of forgot about that it's Zefram Cochrane who inspired humanity to go to the stars with fleets of starships on his design, and met sentient aliens called Vulcans after his historic warp test flight for someone like Sir Patrick, who was the main star of that film. You'd think they remember, but no, his great auntie his great auntie several generations removed is the one who inspires me. Blah blah. He just kind of loses his mind at the end. Stupid Joe. Yeah. There's nothing worse than going back on the achievements of your ancestors and trying to say, no, that's not how it worked, and sleazily siphon off some of their glory for yourself. That's when it's disgusting. We had an established canon for Star Trek. I'm sorry that the Phoenix and what happened in First Contact, I'm sorry that it does step on TOS a little bit with the details, but we decided by the end of the Rick Berman era, that was what we decided. And it worked. Zefram Cochrane did this, 2063, blah blah blah, warp drive. He's a great man, inspiring individual. His character in First Contact grew into the character we saw at the beginning of Star Trek Enterprise at the Warp 5 complex. He's delivering a speech. You can see that through line. It makes sense how he would grow and evolve into the historical Zefram Cochrane. It's he is instrumental in saving the Earth. Okay, we're just beyond World War III. You know, we needed to open our doors. Okay, and just imagine worlds beyond the Earth, and he allowed that to happen. Um, in Star Trek Picard's great aunt or something, great maybe more greats. I can't remember how many it is, whatever. But she found an organism on another planet that humans could use to clean up the atmosphere. So essentially, what you're saying is that an alien helped humanity. Uh, I mean, wouldn't that be largely undone by World War III? Only a few short years after that. It begs the question. Yeah, I don't like going back in time very much. I like my history books to stay the same. I don't like opening my history book every day and read something different. That's not very fun. It confuses the mind. Yeah, and Patrick Stewart was the star of First Contact, and he must have thought it was strange to be kind of just like redoing First Contact again, kind of just redoing the old stuff. He must have, something in his brain must have flicked off and said, "Wait, this is just kind of the same thing. We're going back in time, and it's the Borg again. Come on, guys, come on now." Sahir 18 for my original Starship showcase. Great video. I never get tired of looking at Federation ships. Thank you so much for considering my ships to be Federation ships. Because they're not real, I made them. Thank you so much for just calling them that. Or just any starship from Star Trek LOL. One of these days, I'm going to download Star Trek Online. I did play Star Trek Online for about 300 and some hours, and then I just got tired of it. It's pretty fun. Definitely need to overhaul the on-foot combat and action, but I like flying the ships around. For those of you who don't know, this video in question, my original Starship showcase, it's just a collection of pictures that I made myself of my own original starships. Some more original than others, but all uniquely different from what was seen on screen. Yeah, it's a fun video. I like to watch it, just to put it on and just kind of zone out and look at it. So check it out. I love that kind of thing. That's my real passion, is doing that. Thanks a lot, Sahir 18. Power Cage again for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 7. Earliest I've been to one of your videos. Thanks. I acknowledge that. Here he is again for the same video. Damn, buddy. You're up to 31 subscribers? Nice. Yeah, 31, eh? Oh, it's when we hit 100 and we start getting a lot. If we get 100 and comments start to really take off, it's going to be hard to do these videos anymore. But I want to be able to do it while I can. Not trying to toot my own horn, and I'm not trying to jinx it. I mean, I'm perfectly happy if we don't get any more subs, because everybody who has commented here so far has made me happy enough. Power Cage again for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 7. I guess you could possibly recover repressed memories from hypnosis, but I don't know. Yeah, Episode 7 of Picard Season 2. It got into some complicated details with regards to how hypnosis works, and how you can regress in your mind back to a previous time, and I was a little bit skeptical of how people could learn things that they didn't know before in their mind, maybe. But again, I guess it's possible to reveal things that you intentionally repressed. As for his dad's hair, I don't know why he would. Don't worry about it. It's not important. So thanks, Power Cage. Kenny Fordham for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 7. I put on subtitles when I watch shows too. I started doing it, but 20 years ago, I find that modern actors tend to mumble and whisper talk. Yes. I'm not the only one. I can't hear what anyone's saying in new movies and TV shows. They're talking low and they're brooding and they're just dripping with pathos. And sometimes I forget they think to pronounce the words properly, and I'm already bad of hearing, and I just have to use subtitles now. I don't know. I'm using subtitles on shows where I speak the language they're speaking, so I don't know what that says about me. But yeah, suffice to say, subtitles on would technically spoil the episode Monsters from Season 2 of Picard, Episode 7. And then Power Cage chimed in, plus the sound mixing is all off with too much power given to music and sound effects. I try putting on subtitles as backup, but it drives my wife crazy. Yeah. I know people hate subtitles. Some people can't do subtitles because they can't figure out which one to look at. I had to get used to it, so I guess it's just something I can do. I guess that's my superpower, being able to watch everything with subtitles without a problem. So thanks Power Cage and thanks Kenny Fordham. Undertaker 45 is back for Star Trek Picard Season 2 Episode 7. If these characters were at the beginning of Trek instead of at the end of it, there would have never been a Starfleet. They would all still be in therapy where no man has gone before. That's so true. If Star Trek started with Picard, Starfleet would be gone in a week. Because everybody is crazy. Everybody has to stop every 5 minutes to have an emotional breakdown. Picard has to stop in the middle of battle to mentally regress back into a hypnotic state. Oh, it's just, it would never work. It never work. People talk to each other like they're like, it's like, you know, like, I don't think what is ostensibly disciplined officers in an exploratory space navy, I don't think they're going to be trading pleasantries every second sentence with each other. It doesn't seem reasonable. Just get to the point. Like, just the facts. Just the facts. Okay? I don't need to go on an emotional journey with every single line of dialogue. I just don't need that. If you like that, that's fantastic, but I don't need it. Yeah, these characters would never make it if they had to stand on their own. Michael Strathmore for Season 2 Picard Episode 7. The following are my questions and comment. Oh, holy crap. This is the really long comment. Okay. This is the one I was waiting to get to. The following are my questions and comments as I watch Star Trek Picard Season 2 Episode 7 in real time. Thank you in advance for your time, and I encourage all comments. Spoilers. Look at the wonderful formatting of this comment. Okay, this is like a next level comment here. This is comment the next generation. So this is for Episode 7. We open in what I assume is Picard's synthetic android subconscious, where we are treated to a psychiatric session of sorts, whereby the imaginary shrink is looking to do a psychoanalysis on an imaginary representation of our title character. Honestly, the whole time I keep thinking that because none of this is real, I don't care remotely about this conversation. I agree. I had a hard time caring about this entire season because I knew Q just did it. If it's just a random act of Q, why... I just don't... It kind of melts away the tension. That's why you never really used Q in that way before. Q was not used to set up a whole season of shows. Q would show up, do his thing, you would go on your adventures, Q would come back, do his thing, maybe it related to his last appearance, and then he would come back again at the end for the final episode of TNG. That's all. He's not a malevolent god being that just plays tricks on you for fun. He's a little bit more than that. You really have to think about it. Everything he did kind of had a point. But if you're trying to set up Q as someone who can just send me back into a season and then make me solve the problem, I just can't help but thinking, well, this is fun for one episode, but why do I... You're leaving me here for so long. It's like you're trying to kill me. Like, this is just crazy. It's highly unusual, and it's hard for me to be invested in that. 2, as if to almost double down, they show, then seemingly give us, yet another dreamlike scenario, whereby we are treated to a conversation with an imaginary representation of Picard's mother, and an imaginary representation of Picard as a boy. Once again, I can't help but be reminded that none of these details are anything other than fabrications. They are, on behalf of the writers. Fabrications I have no way of verifying to be true, especially since they seem to represent characters in a manner that runs counter to they have previously been established in Star Trek lore, yes. And again, I find myself unable to give a damn about these fictional individuals whatsoever. 3, where is Robert, or Robert? Well, they did have one throwaway line at some point, I think, where the mom said he's off to school. Which is, it's just such a grimy way to just get rid of him off the scene. It's just grimy. Like, respect it. Like, cast a young Robert. Like, Mama Picard tells Jean-Luc that he's like his father and that he uses his hands instead of his mouth. And given the fact that the show seems hell-bent on presenting Papa Picard as a physically abusive man, I cannot help but think, what a dickhead thing to tell your child. It is. If your perception at that time is that your father's mean, you probably shouldn't tell your kid that he's like his father. If the child's perception is that his father is abusive. Back in hospital, now morning. Where is not Laris? Was she not working her magic MacGuffin device since the middle of the night? Why hasn't she solved Picard's mental block by now? She's probably just lost in Picard's mental dungeon, wandering around inside the Halloween episode of Picard. And she probably can't find her way out, and she needs help, probably, because she's dumb. 6. 7 suggests they still can't track down Agborg. The Borg Queen, essentially. So they finally have the bright idea to use the La Serena's tech to track her. That wasn't the first thing they tried. This immediately begs the question, why Seven and Raffi, who are literally in the same room as Agborg during her cringeworthy solo, didn't also immediately grab the Daystrom Institute cyberneticist's arm? We're going deep. We're going in deep. She is from the Daystrom Institute. Look up what that is. If you don't know. I'm not going to go into it here. Cyberneticist's arm. When they heard Picard was struck down outside. But I know. The show hoped we didn't notice to ask something like that. Yeah, like, as soon as Picard is hit by that car, we need a roll call. Okay, who's here? We need to get this shit sorted out right now. Picard just got ran over by a car. Holy cow. 7. Gee, sure hope the French cop didn't wake up and find the ship again, or wonder why his neck is completely covered in bruises. That's... my brain keeps coming back to that cop. Still, to this day, after that episode. Okay, let me paint a picture for you. I'm not going to use the La Serena. I'm just going to say, you're living in some town, you're a police officer, somebody calls you, they're in distress, they're basically they're screaming bloody murder, it sounds like they're going to die, and you think, oh my gosh, I have to go help this person, I'm a cop. You go to help them, okay, you don't have any help. It's just one cop. Just one. So, you're all by your onesies. You go to where this call came from. At that moment, a cloaking device on a crash UFO blinks out for a second, and you see the UFO. You actually go inside the UFO. You don't, at no point are you trying to call for backup. You just say, whatever. You're walking in there. Admittedly, your phones could be jammed. Perhaps the Borg Queen can do that. You see the most frightening thing you've ever seen in your life. An alien hanging like as if it was a burning effigy from the ceiling that you cannot possibly understand. You get knocked out, and then somebody injects you with something to remove your short-term memory. And they just dump your body back somewhere, and you wake up, say, on the ground, with 3 hours, say, of missing time that you cannot explain. Your clothes look ripped. There's bruises all over your body. And you're a cop. And you do not think to report it. You do not think to tell anyone that this could be a serious thing and we need to go back there. You do not return there yourself at any point. You do not tell the newspaper. You do not tell the media. No, not one person arrives later to inspect what happened. No one thinks to follow up the case with the person who called. And there's a huge chateau beside this UFO. Abandoned. There could be anybody in there dying. And no one came back. The La Serena is just sitting there. By the way, I don't even care if it has a cloak or not. There's a debris field around it. Look at how it crashed. Go back to the episode where it crashed. Any bozo could clearly tell that there was a gigantic meteor or something that had landed there, skid across the ground, created a fissure in the earth, and no one comes back. I think the cop was written into the episode just because they said to themselves, hey, wait a minute, shouldn't somebody come and investigate this? And then they said, oh yeah, you're right. So they wrote in one cop, he came in, did nothing, and then they wrote him out of the story with a throwaway line that they got rid of his short-term memory. And it's there for multiple days. Like, crash it into the ocean or something. Crash it, like, into the middle of a desert. Like, just think. Like, why did Picard think to just veer its course back to the chateau? Is he insane? Is he dumb? Like, that's not... If I was Rios, I would have just been like, countermanded. We're not doing that. And then he would say, well, I'm Admiral Picard. And then I would say, well, no, you're not. You're nobody. This is my ship. We're in the past. Starfleet doesn't matter anymore now. For all we know, Starfleet's gone. How do you know? How do you know the rank structure of the crew still exists? It hasn't been invented yet. Gee, I wonder if any other French cops came out to look for their colleague. I guess not. Gee, I hope the cloaking device is now actually working, but then again, or else, people might freak out and all. I think people saw that thing crash. I kind of think maybe there would be people there. Given the fact that Seven and Raffi were absolutely useless in Picard's ridiculous party crashing plan to begin with, I can't help but feel that at least one of these two could have stayed behind. There being a ship with a cloak on the fritz, and all that could easily have been discovered over the last 12 hours or so. But nope, this show insists on having really smart characters making the most incompetent decisions and doing the dumbest things. Yeah, they should rename this Picard Does the Dumbest Things. That's what they should call this. I could not believe the amount of time that they left the Borg Queen alone in the ship. Psycho. What are you doing? They let Girardi stay. Ugh. How about don't write off Elnor? Don't kill Elnor. Leave him alive in the show, and have his job to be guarding the Borg Queen. That makes sense. Like that would be something he would be good at, because he got like the mind discipline to do it, right? And he would just stand there and just guard the Borg Queen, and then he would be there again in the flesh to defend the ship from the Borg soldier guys. Okay. I'm just kidding. Imagine how efficient it would be if a 7 was already at the Les Arena, maybe continuing repairs to the vessel in the event they need to leave quickly, or even made the smart decision to fly the cloak ship in low orbit so as to evade further detection. Imagine how fast it would be for her to have dedicated Ag Borg wandering off from the party. Could maybe have been transported by her and Picard to sickbay. Surely a powered biobed and her skills as a Daystrom Institute cyberneticist could have made short work on Picard's damage, and certainly could have avoided a doctor from 2024 potentially learning about Picard's futuristic body. Isn't that the funny thing, though? Picard is an android, and one of her characters is a cyberneticist, and we don't get any more insight on what that exactly means for Picard, when we have a character on screen all the time who could easily explain it to us and go into it, it's just mistakes. It's all a mistake. Like, they're regretting turning Picard into a robot. It's because it was a mistake. That's all there was to it. And yeah, it's... I mean, with regards to taking Picard to the doctor, Rios says that a biobed is no replacement for a good doctor or something like that. Well, these biobeds, like, they're pretty good. Like, I wouldn't take him to a doctor. I would try to take him to the biobed, to be honest with you. And not only that, Rios has a tool that you can use to heal Picard. And Rios is from 2400 and some. And this doctor, who has never seen this device before, can use it to fix Picard without a biobed's help. So I guess Rios is just dumb. Apparently the device is so ergonomic, so intuitively designed, that a person from 2024 can use it, but Rios can't. And Rios thinks that a doctor is better than a biobed. I guarantee you, any one of these characters could have operated the biobed fine. I feel like you cannot get as far as they did in Starfleet without having rudimentary knowledge of how a biobed works. I feel like you just wouldn't... That would be like something... Like, okay, I know first aid. I never use it. But I know... Just on a totally unrelated note, I had to learn it just for something else. A biobed is far in advance of first aid. And it's probably very, very intuitively designed. You don't exactly need McCoy here. At least I don't think. He's only a Sung-type android. Rare, yes, but we've known about them for a long time. I don't know, maybe they're not confident with the biobeds in the Les Arena, given that it's the Dark Timeline Les Arena. That's the only out I can give it. I don't know. 12. It was at this time when I wondered if anyone associated with their crew would fix that doctor's defibrillator. Yeah, maybe go back and fix that. You guys broke it. 13. I'm also still unclear how they got Picard to this hospital in the first place. It's obviously not exactly next door to where the fundraiser was held. That's another thing about season 2 is that the geometry of the world that we're in, the space, like where the gala is, where the hospital is, and where the La Serena is, with relation to the police station, with relation to the vineyard, it's all like intentionally vague. Like I know one's in France, but it doesn't jive easily. Like Girardi went to a bar, broke the window, seemingly walked right around the corner, killed someone, and kept going, and left his body there. Seven and Raffi find the body, and then they find Girardi after a few more steps. Like it's like it's convenient. Like where does it take place? San Francisco, L.A. No, L.A. That place is big. It's kind of big. It would be kind of confusing. I don't care what kind of tricorder you got. It's not. It's just it doesn't. We don't have enough scenes of people having to get somewhere. I'll say that. Holy crap! Not Laris only now enters the scene, and we are meant to believe that she hasn't even started her work yet. Bruh, the sun is legit up now. What the hell kind of sloppiness is this writing? Yeah, there's a huge span in time between when Laris says that she's going to go into his brain and when she actually does it. And it makes you wonder, like, maybe this machine doesn't work good or Laris is dumb. Raffi and Seven transport to the La Serena, and no explanation is given as to how they just did that. How would... The Borg Queen had a transporter inhibitor. Could that not be extended to the ship? If anything, this only further puts into question Rios' competence for not transporting Picard and crew to the ship like this in the first place. But no, we need a ridiculous excuse to shoehorn in the Doctor again. Absolutely trash writing that makes what should have been the most intelligent Starfleet officers look completely incompetent. It's sad when our villains seem like they thought so much harder about what was happening than the main characters. That like FBI agent guy, amazing powers of deduction. If only we had that for our characters. I will say that again. Raffi tells Seven she will quit the gang if Rios and Agborg stirred up a relationship again, and suddenly I find myself hoping that exact outcome. Oh my. Think about how freaking dumb that is. How childish. That's like what a 10-year-old would do. You can't be friends with him. If you're friends with him, I'm going to leave. I don't want to be in the gang anymore. Ooh. Give me a break. You're not quitting the goddamn gang. Like, you're not... I'm quitting this. You know what? I'm quitting. I'm quitting. This isn't perfect. I'm quitting. Again, she's a 10-year-old. She's 10. So I suddenly find myself hoping that exact outcome will happen. Me too. Come to think of it, I know several Star Trek fans that were upset over a relationship in the show when they learned Seven didn't even seem to remember Chakotay. I think many of them have since also quit the game. Maybe they did. What's interesting though is that the romance quit the gang too, because the romance started in the last few frames of season 1. Went through in the time between season 1 and season 2. That relationship between Seven and Raffi grew and died before we got back to season 2. And then was patched up again in the last episode of season 2. So we see a positive relationship romantically between Raffi and Seven in the last episode of season 1 and in the last episode of season 2. What are you thinking? What is that? And Star Trek hasn't always been perfect with how it handles its relationships like that, but I just don't get it. Like, you should show them liking each other a little bit so that I can, like, hang on to something here. And then without any reason whatsoever, Raffi suggests she wants to rekindle her main attraction. Don't call it a main attraction. There's something gross about that. There's something not Star Trekky about when you say that. Not you, I mean the show. A relationship with Seven. A relationship we've never seen. A relationship we don't care about. A relationship we cannot possibly be invested in. A relationship that seems to exist for no reason other than to produce some of the worst situational dialogue between two characters I've ever seen in any Star Trek. Yeah, imagine a relationship on the rocks and people screaming at each other at an intense moment when they need to succeed to save the future. Take a moment to have a lover's quarrel. Give me a break. Suddenly I'm thinking, is it possible the writers are having a meta moment here? Do they want more of us to quit the gang? That's what you're thinking here. You're thinking, are they intentionally making this so stupid that people just check out? I've seen as much with the views of my videos. I've seen people check out. Like, I've seen a lot of views for an episode, and then in the episodes after that, review-wise, people watching it check out and just stop watching the reviews because they're giving up. It's the saddest thing ever. Seriously, could there be any other two characters in the history of television with less chemistry than these two? I don't know. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel with this one. Raffi is actually chipper for once. Seems odd given that Elnor's barely cold corpse is only a couple dozen feet from her. But sure, talk about growing old Raffi, yeah. Don't worry, we can create a holographic Elnor in a second anyway. Seven is shocked when her console shuts down. Again, this likely could have been avoided had she stayed behind from the fundraiser. Yeah, why was like who needed to go? Like maybe Talon and Picard? These two geniuses quickly figure out the Borg Queen has duped them, which, given the incompetence of these characters, doesn't seem like a tall task to be honest. True. Characters state that without the ship, they'll never find Agborg. Again, even if this were true, it's not. We literally just saw you figure it out with Rios. That's why I had that sigh. Then maybe you two geniuses should have followed Girardi at the fundraiser. Especially since she is the least qualified amongst you to be left alone on a mission like this. But alright, I forgot you're incompetent. Yeah, I don't know how they made it this far. Raffi says this ship is their only way home, really. Not the omnipotent being called Q. Exactly. Okay, also maybe if you weren't written to be incompetent, you'd have stayed behind on it to ensure something this contrived would never have happened. Although, admittedly, I would try very hard to protect the ship too, and that would include me saying, maybe incidentally, it's my only way home, because I would be operating on the assumption that Q wasn't going to help, right? Which is a safe bet to make. You know, just being safe. Watcher again, about to mind meld, her words, not mine, with Picard, and because the show thinks we're absolutely stupid people, she's literally wearing something ridiculous that evokes a Vulcan's ear. That actually does mean something. Are you actually kidding me, show? Do you think we are so stupid that we need a visual design to connect the dots of what Vulcans do when they mind meld? It's funny to consider that, and what not Lara's character does now. I'm so embarrassed. I'm so embarrassed that this is what Star Trek is today. A metal device that happens to look like a Vulcan's ear. A Romulan's ear. Right before she's about to do a mind meld. Again, her words. What's next? If she wants to headbutt anyone, will she whip out a helmet shaped like a Klingon's ridges? God damn it, is this show ever stupid? I want a helmet like a Klingon's head now that you mentioned it. Yeah, remember how in Star Trek Nemesis we needed to show a picture of Picard when he was young, and we had to show a picture of him when he like shaved his head on a dare or something, because we didn't think the audience would connect Picard to young Picard if young Picard had hair. It's similar to that, but in this case, it turned out that Talon actually was a Romulan. Begging the question, why did she not just Say. Why hide it? Does anybody know why Talon hid the fact that she was a Romulan from Picard? Can anyone explain that? I'd really like to know. Rios closes a set of blinds. Is someone there now? Are they not worried that employees are going to start freaking out when they discover a nearly dead old man on the premises? I thought they were there like after hours or something, and Teresa got in because she has like special access or something. I don't know. Not Lara says she's into leaps of faith, which seems to be completely counter to what Watchers actually do. Exactly. You're exactly right. It also seems to be a poorly written excuse to keep the writers from explaining this nonsense. Knowing that she is jumping into a dream world, not Lara seems surprised that she jumps into a dream world. Well, I don't know. What has she done this before? I don't know. Seems that's what it would be like. Dream Picard again. None of this is real, so honestly, who cares? But I still find it odd that Dream Picard would be surprised to learn that Starfleet wouldn't have psychologists employed. Don't tell me they blew up Mars, too. Yeah. Did Dream psychologist just say John Luke? Well, I don't know, maybe. There's a fine line between John and John. Like, could you even tell that I just said John? Um, uh, maybe he did. I tried to say Jean, like with with kind of like with a Z sound, like John, like that. But it's possible they said John Luke, which would be very funny to me. But accents are what they are. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Not Laris walks down in a corridor while several sound bites of vastly superior Star Trek episodes can be heard. The irony is not lost on me. Yeah, Laris Talon, I mean, in that scene, embodies Kurtzman walking around trying to explore canon, being visibly frightened by seeing vastly superior episodes passing by. That's what that's supposed to mean. Not Lara seems scared for her physical well-being despite this being a dream world. Is a dream world mind that's practically comatose really a sober mind? No. Nothing in his mind should be taken at face value at this point. Dream Picard Junior Edition, Dream Picard Junior Edition, is a whinging little guy, isn't he? Are they really going to try and convince us that the 94-year-old synthetic android who has achieved more than any other human being, debatable, and battled through more than any other human being, is really traumatized from his guilt association with Mama Picard? There's no way that you would really be annoyed by that at this point. You may not even bring it up, which is why we probably never saw it before. I didn't see him crying every 5 seconds about having been assimilated in TNG. He was assimilated. He got de-assimilated. He had 1 or 2 episodes where he brought it up again. He had a little bit of an outburst with his brother. Done. He went right back to it. He didn't flinch seeing a Borg again. It didn't bother him. He was just an exemplary example of a captain. Okay, he's not. He is not a child. Okay. I don't think we just reverse our emotional development at some point in our life when we hit a certain arbitrary age, and then we have to become more traumatized by things that we had experienced, not less. In my experience, when people get old, they get relaxed about that stuff, not the opposite. That's just my experience. Maybe your experience is different. Feels especially egregious with Picard because we had to invent new history for him to do this, which is always a bad idea. You have to understand, when you're writing these characters and people grow up with them, they're like family, you know? And real family doesn't keep secrets from each other like that. And when you go back on that and you say that this person you loved is not the person you thought they were, you really discomfort people in a visceral way that I don't think the writers are quite understanding of. You know, probably because they never had to have these characters as family. You know, maybe in their life experience it was different for them, but they don't know what they're playing with. FML, I'll let you imagine what that means. Are we really and truly expecting to believe any of this implausible nonsense? 34. He did say John Luke. I'll take your word for it. I'll go back and look at it, and maybe it is John Luke. Except for now, he is saying John Luke. What? Yeah, I don't know. Very weird if people say it two different ways in the same episode. Monsters attack Dream, not Laris, and honestly, who cares? Holy crap, I just remembered that episode has monsters in it. Like, honest to God, Halloween episode monsters are in that episode. That just came back to me. Holy crap, that's insane. Part 2. Rios allows 20 to 24 Doctor to walk in on Picard and white-eyed not Laris because he is incompetent. Yeah, I don't know. Let me just fix my chair here. Friggin' Starfleet needs to get better chairs down here. Holy crap, these things are busted up. There is absolutely no reason why Picard, Rios, and not Laris shouldn't have also transported back to the Les Arena. Exactly. This is stupid, sloppy, lazy, and incompetent writing. Exactly. And it does not do to analyze it to this degree without going crazy. Gee, I sure do hope that is happening to Renee Picard right about now. Be so ironic if a watcher wouldn't be there to witness or stop Renee from choking on a chicken bone lunch while in quarantine or something. I guess that's the leap of faith she's rolling on about. Not like a guy didn't just try to murder her last night. Seriously, how hilarious would it be if That's right. Somebody just tried to kill Renee. She went into, like, witness protection or something. And Talon didn't try to follow her. Not like a guy didn't just try to murder her last night. Exactly. Seriously, how hilarious would it be if new board member Sung, feeling even more desperate, insisted on meeting the Starrett quarantined astronaut, threatening to pull his funding if he didn't wish her off. Maybe a note from Renee's shrink that it would do her well to get such a prestigious send-off from the totally not discredited doctor. Exactly. This is a great insight. And once alone with Renee in New Europa, board member Sung could infect her with some undetectable pathogen that would kill her in, say, 2 more days. You know, that's almost as dumb as what we've been getting. I think that's probably what Sung would have done in reality. Like, that's probably accurate. That's pretty wise. Sorry, my my voice is